What it is, Cuxtis? It's your boy, the hater, up in this piece, and I'm here to hit you with another video because today is a day that ends with the word day, which means that the hater is uploading a video because that's how I roll. Now, with that being said, we gotta get the ball moving a little bit and discuss the horrible state of wrestlers, not just wrestling, right? Obviously, we are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like, at this point, wrestlers are whatever, but even the champions look like regular people that you'd see at the mall. No example is better than Ricky Starks, right? Ricky Saints, whatever you want to call him. I'm not going to beat up on him too much because I know that he has some redeeming qualities, like he clearly tries hard and everything, but this guy just looks like a regular dude, right? He looks like the guy that if you go to a nightclub, you see like two guys hanging out by themselves. Ricky Starks is like the less interesting of those two guys. That's what he looks like. You know what I mean? He looks like the guy that would hang out with Stifler in American Pie, and he would be like Stifler's like, you know, gopher basically, right? That's what he looks like. He just looks like a douchebag, and he's funny looking, all right? Again, that's how God made him. I'm not going to beat up on him too much, right? But the fact of the matter is, at one point in AEW, Ricky Starks had like a pretty boy gimmick. And this is how it has to be like the ugliest person in the history of the world to have a pretty boy gimmick, right? There are a few exceptions. There are a few people that the world has told us are good looking but aren't, right? Ice Spice, Usher. That's my personal favorite, Usher. This guy's like a fucking ugly-ass dude, and for some reason, he's presented as a good-looking guy. And my personal favorite is either Usher or it's Maggie Gyllenhaal, which is Jake Gyllenhaal's sister. I've never seen a person this unattractive be presented as an attractive person in my life. It's her and Usher. They're number 1 and 2. You could trade them off. But number 3's gotta be Ricky Starks, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable that the fact that people want me to accept that Ricky Starks is a good-looking guy, like he's a ladies' man, and it's not ironic or anything like that, right? It's just goofy, you know? But anyways, Ricky Starks represents exactly that, right? Ricky Starks is a guy who is primarily known, in my opinion, as the guy from catering who got bullied and humiliated by Ryback. That's the picture on your screen. For those that don't know, basically Ryback was doing a bully gimmick and Ricky Starks plays this fucking, you know, catering guy, this backstage jobber, right? And Ryback just whoops his ass, smears a cake on his face, and throws him through a table, right? Haha, the big guy, you know what I'm saying? But the point is, that's what wrestling is now, right? It's literally that. It's the guy that would get bullied is now the champion. And Ryback is like, obviously doesn't have a wrestling career, as far as I know at least, right? What the hell is wrong with the world? You know, in what world do we accept somehow, one way or another, the fact that the bully, right, is not employed, but the person that he bullied is the NXT champion? It doesn't make sense, and it's not representative of real life. The fact of the matter is, some people who are bullies are successes. But in WWE, everyone is a loser. Everyone. Literally everyone. Even Roman Reigns. They're all dorks. Right? They're all people, we know these people like in high school and shit, or in college, right? These are people that nobody ever wanted around. They're boring as fuck, right? They pretty much drain the fun out of every conversation. Like, imagine hanging out with Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso, right? You'd fucking want to blow your brains out. These guys are the most boring people of all time. Jey Uso too, don't get me wrong. Yeah, Uso, yeah. You know, it's the same fucking shit every 5 minutes. It's fucking boring, it's annoying, you know? And then, on the other side of this shit coin, we have people like CM Punk. Now, we all know CM Punk. He's that weird fucking theater kid that, like, smokes pot. I know that he's, like, you know, straight edge, but he looks like someone that smokes pot in high school, right? And he's the guy that, like, he thinks he's deeper than he is, right? He's the guy that tells you, the corporations, man. You know, like, when you're, like, in 8th grade or 9th grade social studies, someone comes out and is like, Disney's ruining the children, man. Shut the fuck up, man. Shut the fuck up. People need to tell these people, shut the fuck up. And that's the problem. We've stopped as a society to tell people, shut the fuck up. People no longer accept the realities of the world, right? People no longer know their place, if you will, right? Now the losers think they're hot shit because they have some sort of power now. That's what's happening here, you know what I mean? Let me put it to you this way, in a metaphor that even the dumbest amongst us can understand, right? There's a great 80s action movie called Predator, starring the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, there's also a lot of other alpha males in the movie. Jesse the Body Ventura, Carl Weathers, I think his name is, or Carl Withers, the guy who plays Apollo Creed in fucking Rocky, right? These are all big-ass, tough-looking motherfucks, obviously none tougher than Arnold, right? And there's this fucking asshole alien over there called the Predator, who is basically a hunter, and he hunts different species. And now he's here to fuck with humans. He's a trophy hunter, right? He wants to kill the toughest and baddest of humans. And these guys are like special forces type motherfucks in the jungle, right? So the Predator kills all of them one by fucking one. Until it's just Arnold, the alpha male of our species in terms of Hollywood, against the Predator, right? And Arnold has to build these complicated contraptions and basically use the Predator's own hubris to finally defeat the Predator, right? And then Predator blows himself up and Arnold barely makes it out alive. Now, let's compare that to a movie called Predators. It's one of the Predator sequels. I didn't even watch it because I watched the first 5 minutes. Adrian Brody, right? Adrian Brody, who I'm not going to say is like a massive pussy, but he sure as fuck isn't Carl Weathers or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Jesse the Body Ventura, right? He kills like 4 predators in the first 2 minutes. So you mean to tell me, like 5 of the toughest men of this species barely killed 1 predator after he butchered them one by one, and only Arnold could defeat him, only for the predators to then be defeated like he shoots like 6 of them down in like 10 seconds. What the fuck are you talking about, you know? Have some sort of standards. It's the same thing in wrestling, right? The WWE title, let's use that as an example, represents a lineage of great champions. And it does not compute in my head that the title that was once held by Hulk Hogan, by fucking The Rock, you see what I'm saying? And to a certain extent, lesser extent, by Bobby Lashley. I don't think Bobby Lashley was like, I think he was a Universal Champion. It doesn't fucking matter, right? Let's just combine them all. By Bobby Lashley, but even by Eddie Guerrero, that these titles, the title held by Booker T, is now held by Seth Rollins, right? Something just doesn't add up here, motherfucks. In what world is the champion of today so inferior to the champion of yesterday? Like, The Undertaker, during the prime of his career, in his early 30s, in my opinion, his prime was when he was the American Badass, he didn't become champion. He had like 1 title run as like the American Badass, right? When he turned heel. He had 1 title run, and it was presented as a big deal. This is The Undertaker, right? Meanwhile, Daniel Bryan gets multiple title runs. Seth Rollins gets multiple title runs. CM Punk gets multiple title runs. Are you fucking retarded? Does any of this make sense to you? The person that's bullied now overcomes all the bullies and becomes the GOAT? Cody Rhodes, who literally has been in wrestling for like 25 years, or whatever the fuck it's been, right? At least 20 years. I think it's been exactly 20 years. 20 years, this asshole was a jobber, you know? And in my opinion, if you're ever a jobber of those epic proportions, you can never become a superstar, right? You can look at someone, for example, like my favorite wrestler of all time, Christian Cage, who was always cool as fuck, right? You can look at someone like Christian Cage, and basically, you can think to yourself, wait a second. You know what I mean? Like Christian Cage, he was never like this big deal, but even when he was like the lackey of Edge and Gangrel, he was considered a formidable force in the mid-card division. Like someone like Christian was always above the jobbers, right? Like a jobber would be like Steve Blackman. Like, you know, fucking a jobber would be like S.A. Rios. Right? There weren't that many jobbers back in the day, but Gilbert, right? Christian was above these guys. Christian and Edge were able to feud with like the Brothers of Destruction. They were able to feud in big time events, right? And they were presented as being serious wrestlers, right? Not serious in gimmick, but serious in terms of the fact that they're not complete jobbers. So one day, when people like them or Jeff Hardy grow up, they might become world champions, and in fact, they all did, right? You see what I'm saying? That's presented in a different way. For a better analog, perhaps, let's use the character of MVP, right? MVP was never presented as a jobber. I mean, he certainly was a jobber, but he wasn't presented as one. MVP was presented as a guy that could one day be a world champion. Even at his lowest points, him, Baron Corbin, people like that, were never presented as being complete jobbers. But Cody Rhodes was presented as being a complete jobber. Like Cody Rhodes was like the lowest rated guy in the WWE games. You know what I mean? He was the worst of the worst. So it doesn't follow that all of a sudden this guy bleaches his hair, gets a couple of tattoos, and now he's like kicking out of 17 AAs. You know? At the very least, point that out. Just be like, oh, Cena's a jobber now because he's old. Just fucking say it so that I understand how he's able to beat Cena. You know? Cena who just squashed him in under like 2 minutes. It wasn't even close. Cody would get like 2 moves in. You know? What I'm getting at here is that in entertainment, the losers have taken over. And when the losers take over, nobody enjoys themselves. Not even the losers. And you can see this manifest in other ways, right? Losers, by virtue of being unattractive to anybody in the world, right, are always going to act like losers. So CM Punk only knows how to act like CM Punk, right? He only knows how to bitch and moan, how to complain, and talk about how he's being passed over for other wrestlers, right? Roman Reigns and Jey Uso have no personalities. They're two boring-ass Samoans who basically combined have zero charisma. Now, I will admit Jey Uso got over the whole yeet thing, right? But that's like basically like when Fandango got over his theme song, you know what I mean? That just fucking happened out of nowhere, and it should have never happened, but it did, so good for them, right? Then you got people like Gunther, who are people, like, we know people like Gunther, right? You know people when you're like young, you talk about wrestling, and there's always that one guy who takes it more seriously than he should. He's basically like, it's still real to me, damn it, he's that guy, but like if that guy became a wrestler. You know what I mean? That's what Gunther is. They're all tools. They're all losers. You know? Nobody there is cool enough, which is why the promos all suck ass. They don't know how to be cool. You take Cody Rhodes and you're like, be cool. And he's like, I don't know how. I don't know how. I'm a dumb jock who never got over, right? Until he was pushed down everyone's throats. He's not cool. Cena's cool. Booker T's cool. The Rock is cool as shit. Stone Cold is cool as shit. The Undertaker, player, is cool as shit. There's people that are cool. There's people that aren't cool. You know? Now we look at NXT, and obviously we see the least cool people of all time. Like some of this shit is like downright laughable at this point, right? Like Trick Williams. A lot of people think Trick Williams is going to be this massive star. You know? And then I look at him and I'm like, what the fuck is this guy? He feels insecure. You know what I mean? He's always like, yeah, I'm carrying the shows. He has like no like charm to him, right? He has no charm to him, which is why, and I don't know why people are confused with this, right? He was the lackey for Carmelo Hayes. Let's not get it twisted. Like when he debuted, they were like, hey, we have good hopes for this other kid called Carmelo Hayes. You're going to be his retarded lackey, right? That's all he is. He's the lackey of Carmelo Hayes who doesn't talk, right? Because Carmelo Hayes is more charismatic and he's more charming. Charm is a very underrated like concept in wrestling, right? You have to have charm. You have to be able to connect with the audience. Like Trick Williams would never connect if it weren't for Booker T. Booker T has charm up the ass. But like, you know, even Booker T can't carry you to the main event. He barely got himself to the main event. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. This guy's got no charm. You look at like Obafemi, this guy's boring as shit. People are like, this guy is crazy good. What are you talking about? He's boring as fuck. Like I see him and I'm like, I can't fucking wait till he's done talking. You know? And ironically, one of the people that does have charm is good old Ricky Saints. He does have a little bit of charm. But look at him. He looks like the fucking guy that sorts paper clips in the office. He looks like a nerd. He's never gonna make it, motherfucks. And then you got other jobbers like Ethan Page, Joe Hendry. Don't get me started on him. He deserves his own video. And my personal favorite of the people with no charm, Tony D'Angelo. Like, in my opinion, Channing Stacks Lorenzo has a brighter future than Tony D'Angelo. Tony D'Angelo's like, he's right there, motherfucks. He's right there. He might even be the number one. Like, with Obafemi and Trick Williams in, like, most boring wrestlers in the world today list, right? Can you think of someone more boring than Tony D'Angelo? Even with a gimmick, this guy feels like he has no gimmick. You know? What the fuck? Like, his appearance, he's got this, like, weird ponytail. He's like a mafia guy with a man bun. What the fuck is that all about? You know what I mean? Then he's got boring-ass finishers. You know? Boring-ass moves. Just like Trick Williams and Obafemi. I mean, at least Obafemi does some cool power moves, but, like, he's got a fucking powerbomb finisher, motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? We need a little bit more nowadays. But anyways, it is what it is. The point I'm trying to make is that all these dorks have made their way into wrestling, right? Now, you know what I'm talking about. If you're in college, right, and you're an athlete, you're not necessarily cool, obviously, but you are going to get some cool factor because you're going to hang out with cool people. Because everyone wants to hang out with you, and some of the people that hang out with you are cool, right? That's how it's going to be. And that's if you're a college athlete in, like, a real sport, you know? If you're a college football player or a basketball player. That's it, motherfuckers. If you're the shot put guy, nobody gives a fuck. If you're the wrestler, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody knows who you are, right? And quite frankly, unless you go to a big school, nobody knows who you are if you play football either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had so many football players in my classes in undergrad, and I went to a pretty big school. Nobody knew or cared about any of them, right? Like, it's pretty much the quarterback. If you're the quarterback or like the star basketball player, people care. Otherwise, nobody gives a fuck if you're like the offensive lineman. You know what I mean? Some dumb shit from like fucking Kentucky. My name's Caleb. Is it? Go fuck yourself, you know? I just made that up. There's nobody that I know named Caleb. But I think you can all envision what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the big corn-fed, like, you know, guy who looks like Gunther, kind of. He's got the Gunther haircut, except he's like 350 pounds. Like that, nobody gives a shit about that guy. You know what I mean? Just like that, nobody gives a shit about the Obafemis of the world and the people that aren't famous, that aren't big deals even in college. They're jobbers even in college. Now, that being said, you know, there are some upside to this, right? There are some people that at least try hard, right? Like, I gotta give props to Trick Williams. I can't believe I'm saying it because this guy's like one of the most boring people of all time. But he can't help that. That's how God made him, motherfuckers. God didn't make him very exciting. He's not charismatic. People think he is. He fucking isn't. I can remember one promo that he's cut that's been a great promo. You know? He feels, to me, he comes off as insecure. Like, compare him to, like, The Rock, for example, right? I know it's a tall order, but it's like, The Rock speaks with confidence. You want to listen to what he's saying? You know what I mean? The Rock speaks in a way that people have emulated for decades since. Like, Conor McGregor's stolen his shtick. Fucking Andrew Tate has copied The Rock and his mannerisms and the way he talks, right? Nobody's gonna copy Trick Williams, but I will give him props. He tries hard, man. Trick Williams has an incredible physique, one of the best physiques in WWE right now, in my opinion, right? But it's not gonna be enough, because if your finishing move is a jumping knee and you can't cut a promo, nobody gives a shit, you know? Like, you could get lucky, you could become like a Jinder Mahal, but I highly doubt it, motherfuckers. The reality for these people is, like, it's like, so some of these people, like Tony D'Angelo and Trick Williams and Obafemi and, you know, Joe Hendry, which is not really in NXT, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't want them to leave NXT because you know what awaits them when they leave, right? What awaits them is an Andrade career, is a Carmelo Hayes career, you know? And quite frankly, like, or a Johnny Gargano career. Like, Johnny Gargano was a big deal in NXT. You know what I mean? Johnny Gargano, everyone in NXT loved him. Now he's just a jobber, right? Like, nobody cares about him at all. So there you have it, you know? Once Trick Williams comes and flounders, him and Carmelo can become tag team champions, and that's gonna be presented as a big deal. But that's all it's gonna be, right? And the reason for that is because we don't get any cool people in entertainment anymore. It's really that simple. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, these are just the realities of the world, cucks. And with that being said, take care of yourselves and go fuck your own asses.